he's going to give another different bonus lecture in a different room. I forget what room, 215, I think. Strillman, it's definitely in this building as well, but it's on the website and stuff. So he's going to talk about, has technology made movies better? So it's all kind of about visual effects and sci-fi and filmmaking and stuff. So definitely make that one too. So super brief bio, taken up this time because you want to hear him talk, not me. He, like 35 years ago, he was the head of artistic training for Disney feature animation. So trained all their artists, all their animators, and then he left that. I forget exactly when, but then he held the same position at DreamWorks feature animation where I met him, maybe 10 or 12 years ago, something like that. So, and he's now, he just took over the presidency of ASIFA Hollywood. If you don't know ASIFA, that's the World Animation Federation. Basically, it's like SIGGRAPH, but for animation. So, huge Three Stooges historian, film historian, animation historian, all-around wacky guy. What else am I forgetting about Frank? So now he writes and directs and produces feature animated film scripts. Some of our senior students got a free critique out of him this afternoon, which was great. He might send you a bill though. I don't know. He's an entrepreneur now. He's self-employed. Yeah, he left DreamWorks, I guess a couple of years ago. What else is there to say about Frank? Oh, see? He's here? Oh, he's here. Yes, I'm here. Shh. Okay. No, really, Frank is really a nice guy. Really.
Yeah.
That's what you just said.
I know, so forget everything I just said. I thought I'd take up the intro time while you were gone. So not only I could speak about you behind your back, but
that's fine. Everybody else does.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Gladstone.
Hiya.
Hi, Frank.
You know, I wanted to run down and get something hot to drink because I might talk a little bit and all that. And you know how sometimes when you're really in a hurry, the person in front of you is not. And down at the Dunkin' Donuts just now, it was like, I'd like a bagel. Cream cheese? Maybe. I went in a bar the other day, and a bear came in right before me. And he walked in the bar, and the bartender said to him, well, Mr. Bear, what'll it be? And the bear was kind of like that. And he went, I'd like a rum and Coke. Rum and Coke. And the bartender said, gee, why the big pause? And the bear said, well, I don't know. I've had him since I was a cub. Anyway. Sorry, I love that joke.
I'm here till Thursday.
So, I'm here to talk about the greatest cartoons ever. Why would I even think the greatest cartoons ever? What do I mean by that? I'm going to ask you this question. Tell me what I mean by the greatest cartoons ever. Terrence, you're not going to say anything. Danny, you're not going to say anything. Anybody else? Why are these the greatest cartoons ever? What am I talking about here? I need hands. I need hands. Oh, Jack, right, Jack?
Yes.
Do you know?
The golden age of cartoons?
Golden age of cartoons. When was the golden age of cartoons? The first golden age, anyway. When? Take a guess.
None of you were born then.
No, none of you were born. None of you were born. Your parents might have been born. Yeah, you were born. I was born. The golden age of cartoons started in the 1930s and ended in the 1950s. And there was the slides and up and downs, everything like that. And what I'm talking about is short cartoons. I'm not talking about Snow White, Pinocchio, and Bambi and all of that. By the way, I went to see Bambi the first time when I was about 30, and we went to the theater. Has anybody seen Bambi? Raise your hand if you've seen Bambi. Raise your hand if you haven't seen Bambi. Golden age of cartoons. Boy. Yeah. We went to the theater, and we went at night, so there wasn't a lot of people there. And we sat down, and Bambi starts, and you all know what happens. The big scene comes, Bambi runs, run, Bambi, run! And he's running, and he jumps into the bush, and you hear this bang, bang! And then Bambi looks around and goes, Mother? And we're all going like this. And a little voice calls out, is she dead? And we all went, oh no! It was all done for us. The rest by the way, people swear that you see her killed on screen, and you don't. They did storyboard it that way. They storyboarded it 5 or 6 ways. She's killed, she's not killed, you see the hunters, you don't see the hunters, you don't see the hunters either. They finally used this one where you're off with Bambi and you don't see it, but people swear you do. Power of cartoons, but I'm talking about short cartoons now. Short cartoons were done by every major motion picture studio had a short cartoon unit. What they found out in the silent days was that if you had a cartoon along with the feature, people would go to your theater rather than another one. So in the early silent days, when there started to be distribution, they said, well, how do we get people to come to our theater rather than the one down the street owned by that other studio? But because back then studios owned their own theaters. This was broken up in the 50s in antitrust legislation. But at that time, if you went to a Lowe's theater, it was one studio, you could go RKO or Fox Theater or so forth. And they discovered early on, before any of those companies were really well established, and there were a lot of distributors, that if a distributor had extra features with their feature, the audience was more likely to go to them. How did they figure that out? They figured it out from newspapers, because newspapers had comic strips. And there were people who would only go read a newspaper if the Catch and Jammer kids were there, or Buster Brown, or the Yellow Kid, or something like that. Hello, come on in. Take your tie off, will you? Jeez. But anyway, so they realized that if they had this kind of comic thing, maybe people would come, and they immediately began to do cartoons. Problem was that cartoons took a long time to do in the early days, one person working on them at a time. And so pretty soon they had studios, and when the studios became institutionalized, you had Warner Brothers, RKO, Fox, MGM, so forth. They started cartoon units because people expected it. And the cartoon units turned out enough product to go with the features during that year. I was telling Terrence before, in the heyday of Hollywood, the big studios turned out about 50 pictures a year. About 50 a week. The big studios turned out that many movies. And they needed cartoons to go with all of them. Warner Brothers, which was maybe the most prolific of the cartoon studios, did something like 90 cartoons a year. I'm sorry, 30 cartoons a year. 30 cartoons a year. That's about as many as 3 features. Because each cartoon was about between 6 and 7 minutes long. Each unit did 10 cartoons or 11 cartoons a year, so it was almost enough for about 2.5 features. And they had 100 people, and half of them were ink and paint, meaning they were the tracers and the painters. So they really, as these guys worked together over a long period of time, they got better and better. Some of them got better and better at it. Of course, the crappy cartoon units just stayed worse, but that's the way it was. I'm going to show you a series of cartoons that I thought would be the best cartoons from that era. So what you are seeing is the cartoons that showed before movies. When you went to the movies in the late 1920s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, up through about the middle 50s, you sat down and you watched a cartoon, and you watched a short subject, whether it could be a travelogue, Three Stooges, Laurel and Hardy, various shorts, and then you saw coming attractions, and then you saw the picture. Anytime you went to the movies. And so what I'm going to show you now is the first of these choice cartoons. Now, I didn't choose them by myself. I chose them with a fellow named Jerry Beck. If you Google Jerry Beck or go to Amazon and put Jerry Beck in, you'll see that he's written umpty-ump books about animation, including something called the 50 Greatest Cartoons of All Time, where he actually did a survey of people in the business to see what the greatest cartoons. Some of these are there. We sat down over some hamburgers at Marie Callender's and said, what are the best ones? If we could only choose 9 or 10, what would they be? You're going to see that selection tonight. The first one was made in 1949, and it stars Bugs Bunny and his nemesis, Elmer Fudd. And it is a pretty good cartoon. It features the music of Rossini, and I'm just going to press the button and play it.